this is Swapnil Bharti, and we are here at KubeCon and Cloud Native Con in Shanghai, China. And today we have once again with us Dr. Thomas Giacomo from SUSE.
Hey, Swapnil. Thanks for having me.
I mean, it's my pleasure to have you again. So a lot of things are happening these days at SUSE, but since we are here in China, so let's start, with China. So tell us, what kind of presence SUSE has here in China?
First of all, it's very good to be outside of US and Europe for once. And China has been an important market for SUSE since many years. We have strong hardware partners there. And today we are at KubeCon, Cloud Native Con. So we are also bringing new partnership with Chinese public cloud providers, like we have a new partnership with Alibaba Cloud, where we are running SUSE Cloud Foundry containerized on top of Alibaba Cloud Kubernetes services. So for public clouds, but they also have a private cloud version, which is called Apsara. So it's a bit similar to Azure Stack. And we work with them to provide Linux for generic workloads, SUSE Linux for SAP workloads, and SUSE Cloud Foundry on top of Alibaba Cloud Kubernetes, for instance. They are part of the Alibaba group, and last week they had their Double 11 or single day, like the equivalent of the Black Friday. It's much bigger than the UK online business in a total year, actually. But so we have strong partners like that. We also have like small service integrators, resellers in China, but also in Japan, in Korea, in different Asian countries, in Singapore. We actually do a lot of development in China. So we have engineers working in Beijing, Shenzhen, on open source projects, doing QA as well and contribution, including for the Linux kernel and other projects.
When we think about private cloud, the first word that we think of is OpenStack. And SUSE is, Alan Clark, he sits on OpenStack in the foundation. So tell us, what is OpenStack and SUSE and Asia? So
actually today or this week, they have the OpenStack Summit in Berlin. And before going to OpenStack, I wanted to mention as well that it started on Monday with Ceph Days, where we announced together with other founding members the creation of the Ceph Foundation under the Linux Foundation. So we are very happy about that because we've been contributing to Ceph for many years, and it will help the Ceph project to grow and attract new contributors, new members. And so related to OpenStack, actually we see a lot of adoption of OpenStack, and maybe from a hype standpoint, it's not as much as a cool kid as it used to be, but from an adoption standpoint, we've seen a lot of new customers adopting it in the past 12 months or so. And it is actually not exclusive. We're at KubeCon, and we also have a lot of deployment where people are using OpenStack for their private clouds with some Kubernetes, and then they can move workloads around to public clouds as containers on public cloud Kubernetes services as well, and use OpenStack to manage their network stack or their storage backend, for instance.
Now, since we have kind of started talking about news, the biggest news that happened is a lot of acquisitions are happening in the market,
I don't
right?
know what's happening.
After SUSE has been again acquired by Equity, and then it was like, why should we be left alone? We should also get acquired. So IBM acquired Red Hat. So it's like even playing field. Now Canonical is the only one left. Yeah. Let's see what happens to them, but let's not create any controversy. When I look at SUSE, the one thing that I love about SUSE is that it's the oldest company, but throughout, it has had, rough patches. It gets acquired, but somehow it has retained, its ethos, its value. So I call it one of the most resilient companies in the world. So now when it's acquired by EQT, what should we expect? Should we be worried about anything? Should we be happy about things?
So I think that's a pretty good news. And generally speaking, all the acquisition that you mentioned, that's good news for open source as well, because open source, it's about doing things together as communities, but it's showing as well that business value or value in itself can be created for people to use open source technologies. And so that's good for the entire ecosystem. And so SUSE is going to be a fully independent, open source based company. We will close that deal or we will become fully independent by Q1 2019. And you can expect good things. So the first good thing is that we will not change our focus on open source. We will stay committed 100% to open source, upstream, and contribute to the projects where we are contributing today. The thing that will change is that under EQT, we are fully independent. So that's good for partners, and they will also invest in our growth. We've been growing the past 5 years, double digit and all of that, but with this new step in the life of the company, we will be in a position to do much more organic and also non-organic growth, and help consolidate the market and help growing open source projects and businesses, actually.
So when you say independence, first of all, how different is this acquisition from Attachmate or Micro Focus? How does this ensure independence?
So under Micro Focus is a software company, and SUSE was already an independent business because of the nature of our business based on open source subscription. We had independent brand, leadership, strategy, sales, product development, product management, support, all of that. But we were still part of a group. In the future, we will be in charge of our own destiny completely, and fully independent in the sense that, of course, like every company, you have owners, and so EQT will be our owner, but they are helping us to take it to the next level without being linked to another company by ourselves, if you want.
So can we expect that sooner or later we will have SUSE, the good old SUSE, as an independent company, and maybe with IPO also?
We want to focus on the next step and making sure that we do good things for the open source communities, and we do good things for our partners and customers, and then the future will tell us what will become out of that. And I mean, we have time to do that. It's not like there's a rush to achieve something. We don't have VCs in the back pushing us to get money back or to cash out or those kind of things. And so we will see that SUSE is going to be in an even better position to grow investment in people, to contribute to projects, in people, to support customers using open source technologies, and then what happens will happen.
Yeah, I'm a science fiction writer, so I'm already thinking about future, far-fetched future. But yeah, it's right, one step at a time.
Yeah.
So if you look at SUSE now, like for example, when Red Hat acquisition happened, Red Hat said that we are enterprise business company. Our model is software. We are not an open source company, and I think that also makes a lot of sense, because sometimes when we use that we are open source company, you're a company, so your focus should be on the business. You're using a model. So when we look at SUSE, what kind of company are we looking at?
So we call ourselves sometimes the open source company. So we still use open source together next to company, actually. And one thing is the software development model. And there's a lot of discussion in the industry. Is that a business model? Is it not a business model? At the end of the day, that's how we develop things. And then we do business based on open source technologies that we help develop. And when we say open source, it means that it's not only about the codes, it's also about the way that you do partnership, the way that you do business, the way that you interact with users, and avoid trying to enforce things on them, but listen to the needs and try to find the best solutions to get them where they need to go. And most of the time they have already existing IT assets, IT software, IT hardware, and take that into account together with other software companies, other hardware public cloud companies, sometimes including competition as well. It doesn't really matter as long as we find a good solution for the user at the end. And I think we're still an open source company for enterprise IT. And probably we could even say an infrastructure software company, because Linux, OpenStack, Ceph, even Kubernetes to a large extent, it's mostly about infrastructure. Although with Cloud Foundry and other things, it's becoming more as a development, application delivery kind of thing. and not only about hiding the infrastructure, but making sure that developers can focus on application development on top of it.
So yeah, that's actually really interesting, because sometimes we talk about open source, but you can have vendor lock-in with open source as well. So saying that having an open ecosystem, so other open also matter. Just open source code is not alone, which ensures that it's.
And that's more and more true because people are using more and more different open source projects. So, in the 20 years ago, in the Linux days, it was Linux, and that was pretty much it. Today, you have dozens of open source projects being used by companies, and they can get them from a single vendor, or they can get them from different vendors, consumed in different ways, and that's for them to decide.
When we look at equity acquisition and independent of SUSE, will you be just continuing what you're doing, or you will be looking at expanding SUSE? Because if you look at future machine learning, these are things that are becoming more, not that SUSE is not developing machine learning, but as a workload. So what is your future strategy as CTO, where you are looking at?
So we are looking at making sure that we can enable those things for our customers. That's the first part. So we need to make sure that people can use AI frameworks, AI machine learning frameworks, or some of the IoT components, or so for instance, we have a partner doing blockchain, containerizing blockchain and the ledger, and running that on top of SUSE Container as a Service platform. So we'll continue doing that. I don't think we will expand to cover the entire solution by ourselves, because there are companies focusing on that, and we want to make sure that they can benefit from the lower level technologies and leave them where their strengths are. And so, but if you think even about Linux itself, we do a lot of embedded Linux today. Linux is getting embedded in more and more devices, including cars, including edge IoT gateways and stuff like that. So even if you don't fully provide the entire end solution, there's still a lot of things where you can help companies to adopt those new trends. And what we also try to do, I'm thinking about serverless and function as a service, and there are many different solutions today. Public clouds, they have their function services, and you have a few more non-public cloud solutions as well. What we try to do is we want to make sure that our customers, they can use different serverless frameworks irrespective of where they are, by whom they are provided. And maybe I'm Swiss, so I'm trying to stay neutral, but I think it's important that we don't say, well, that's the only serverless framework that you can use and you cannot use this one, for instance. So as SUSE, we will probably not provide a SUSE serverless framework, but we will provide the abstraction to make sure that our customers can use all of the existing ones.
Yeah, and that's the right approach. And I don't know whether you want to comment on that or not, but you touched upon it a bit. We talked about Red Hat. And since I'm sitting with SUSE, do you have any thoughts and comments? You mentioned this is good news for the open source world, and I also agree with that. It shows the value of. So what are your comments on this acquisition?
So first of all, people involved with open source, they know that IBM has been a great open source contributor for many years. To a certain extent, without IBM, Linux might not even be where it is today. And so people have to realize that. So it's not like IBM is new to open source, and with Red Hat, they don't know what they're going to do with that. So that's a good thing. And IBM has been a very strong partner for SUSE. So with IBM, in the Cloud Foundry community, we work together on different projects. One of them is the user interface. It was contributed by SUSE. It's part of Cloud Foundry upstream. IBM has added things to it, and they are now using that for IBM Cloud. IBM is contributing a project called ARINI, which is a way to plug a container scheduler to Cloud Foundry to be more Kubernetes friendly. And we also contribute to that, and we are using it in our project. We containerize Cloud Foundry. So we have a lot of ongoing partnership with IBM that we will continue. And but actually, we've been doing a lot of stuff with Red Hat in the past. So you have the businesses, the companies, and then you have the communities. And we've been working with Red Hat forever as well. So I'm not expecting major changes. We'll keep on working with our partners, IBM included, and all the other ones who want to work with us. And it's mostly about the relationship and how we bring value to each other and to the project than about having flags of whatever color the flag can be, blue, red, green, orange, or whatever. But time will tell what happens as well.
We have talked many times. We meet,
Yeah.
But one thing that I've never asked you, and then I want to ask you today is, when you are not, in this role of Dr. T at SUSE, what do you do in your free time? What are your hobbies? How do you spend your time? And please don't say that technology is your hobby.
Yeah, it is. But so I have kids, I have a wife, I have 3 boys. They keep me busy when I'm not traveling, when I'm not working with technologies. And sometimes when they sleep, I can find time to play video games as well. So
play video games?
Yeah, I used to play a lot. A little bit less now. I was actually a software developer in the video game industry. So when I play, I'm trying to look at that's technology again, but the 3D engine, the textures, and how they create things. And that's also why I'm very excited about GPUs in general. But and other than that, family, mostly family and friends, hanging out. I like food. I'm French, so I like food, obviously. And spending time with people I like.
What kind of games do you play mostly?
I can play pretty much anything. So I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you a PlayStation guy or Xbox guy?
I've got all of them. So
yeah, same here. I have Switch, I have PlayStation. Because it's not about platform, it's about the game.
Correct.
So wherever the game is, I'll go to the platform.
So the good thing is that games are less and less exclusive. They used to be like Sony, Square Enix was just Sony, and Microsoft Studios, they were just doing games for. So the number of exclusivities are going down, which is good. But still, I have a PlayStation where I can use the PlayStation VR headset and Xbox One Plus for the 4K rendering as well. So yeah, and I actually have 2 PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Switch, Wii U.
Why do you do it? What do you do with 2
I
Xbox?
have 3 boys.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true.
I have a good excuse.
Good excuse,
and,
yes.
Probably have, yeah.
And my wife probably doesn't even know that I have PlayStation and Xbox and Switch and all those things.
You're lucky she's not watching your videos.
No, she's not. No, I am sure she's watching, but by the time it's ending, it's too much technology. So she gets bored by the time. But but there is some exclusivity, like Sony is known for open world games like Horizon, and all those games are exclusive to Sony, and I love those games. I still play.
So still play Horizon?
Yeah, because I have beaten the game 5 or 10 times.
Oh, really?
But I love it so much. So when the Frozen Wild came, I played the Frozen Wild. And because it's open world game, so I always like to go and kill
new techniques to
kill the Thunderjaw, and so
yeah.
sometimes I use only bombs, sometimes I use the trips. So it's just a different. That's the beauty of open world games.
Yeah.
You don't have to finish the whole game. You can just go play for 5 minutes and get out.
You can go from city or village to village.
Yes.
And so I'm very excited about the future of games, actually.
I am, because I also have the VR headset.
Yeah.
So I am like more excited about what is the next stage of gaming.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you played Skyrim?
I have played a little bit,
VR?
but not much into. I didn't get much into that.
No, I just tried it with VR. It's quite impressive.
It is, yeah.
But after 10-15 minutes, then you stop.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you so much for talking today, and as usual, we will see you again soon.
Yes, you probably in a couple of weeks.
Yes.